Hey guys, today I'm going to rank all of the Kingdom Hearts 2 worlds from worst to best. I should preface this that Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I've done playthroughs on this channel just to see if I can beat the game without jumping, attacking, and not using reaction commands. Kingdom Hearts 2 was the first Kingdom Hearts game that I finished, and it's my most played Kingdom Hearts game. I'm sure that I've beaten it at least 100 times since it released on the PS2 back in the 2000s. I've wanted to make this ranking video for a while as I've wanted to figure out exactly how I would rank these worlds. There are no steadfast rules in ranking the worlds, as you will all find out. I just asked the questions, do I enjoy the level and is it fun? Of course my nostalgia goggles are on tight, so I have a lot of double standards when comparing the worlds. So I'll answer my very subjective questions with very subjective answers. This is all my opinion, but as my doctor said, I'm a weird dude. So please don't come and burn down my village if I think differently. And just because something is ranked low on this list doesn't mean I hate it. It just means the others are much better to me. So starting off the list, at number 14 for the worst world is Port Royal. I really don't like this level. One of the reasons for this is that Port Royal is dark. That's it. I just hate dark levels in video games. As a side note, whenever you guys start a new game and have to adjust the brightness settings, what do? I just put the brightness up to the max, and that's for levels like this. When I was a kid, there were open windows in the house, and I was forced to play in the daytime. So there was dreaded sunlight causing glare on the TV, and so I couldn't really see anything. Even when I play the game now, I still look at the ground to navigate in the world as I'm not used to seeing anything. Though that's not a big reason now, it's a moot point as I can play in the night. But this level starts off on the wrong foot for me every time I enter it. The second reason I don't like this level is due to the enemies itself. KH2 is a button masher. The pirates in this level don't let me button mash. To kill the pirates, they have to stand in the moonlight. I just hate doing this. It's not hard or anything, it just takes time and feels like work to me. And I really dislike the heartless fights on the Black Pearl or anything on the ship for that matter. It's small and the moonlight problem persists on the ship. The only redeeming quality of the entire world is the fight against Barbossa. I actually like fighting him. I only saw the first Pirates movie back in like 2000 something, but I haven't seen any of them recently, so I wouldn't say that I'm a fan of the movies either. And I'm not just a hater of the Caribbean. The Caribbean is one of my favorite levels in Kingdom Hearts 3, and I've been to the Caribbean, guys, in real life. I know about reggaeton and reggae, so I'm a local. I just want to say this about Atlantica. I actually like the world and will give it a 10 out of 10 compared to the other worlds in this list, but I'm still ranking it near the bottom. The main reason being, this world is optional, so I will forgive all of its sins. The world is 2 rooms, so you can't get lost, and there's no backtracking if you decide to enter. We received the Crab Claw Keyblade for completing the world, and it gives us a Blizzard boost ability, so it's functionally useless as we really only need it for Data Axle. And I feel it should even be higher on this list since Melody of Memory exists. I feel ashamed saying this, but I actually know all of the songs Sora and Ariel sing in this world, and I have never seen the Little Mermaid movie. Anyways, I play KH2 to button mash, not for a rhythm game. At number 12 is the 100 Acre Wood. Same reasoning as Atlantica, I play Kingdom Hearts 2 to button mash, not to babysit Winnie the Pooh. I've always had a penchant for colorful forest levels, and this is one of those levels. Playing here is always so relaxing. Even the cave minigame, which is supposed to stress us out, I find to be relaxing. You also get a ton of items, including a bunch of AP boosts in this world, and there's no chance of dying on critical if you suck like me. The honeypot sliding minigame is one of my favorite minigames in this series. I usually hate auto-scrollers, but this one is short, and the background is dynamic and not recycling. Empty space, like the gummy ship in KH1, and 100 Acre Wood is optional, so I can't really fault it that much. At number 11 is Agrahbah, which is very meh. Think of this level as the point of indifference for me. I don't love it or hate it. I prefer the KH1 rendition of Agrahbah and the Cave of Wonders. The KH2 version doesn't really feel like a desert town like the first game. The Cave of Wonders actually feels like a cave, but there are no secrets in the cave in this game, and the whole mysteriousness is gone. I'm not a huge fan at all of the second visit's magic carpet section either. Don't get me wrong, I think that it was awesome the first time that I played it, but now on my millionth playthrough, I don't look forward to this level. I actually have no problem with the Genie Jafar boss, as I think that's fun. It's just this city that I don't enjoy playing with the carpet. At number 10 is Halloween Town. I used to live under a rock as a kid, I guess, because I had never seen the Halloween Town movies, so there's no nostalgia for this level for me. Unlike Port Royal, we don't spend a ton of time in the dark Halloween Town. We get to go to Christmas Town so I can see things. And honestly, everything about Christmas Town speaks to me. The music, the environment, and Santa Claus. It can be the middle of July, but when I go to Christmas Town, I'll start humming Christmas songs in my head. There's also a lore reason that I like this level. Since I was smaller, I have always wondered about the Oogie Boogie conveyor belt boss fight. Why are there spikes at the end of the conveyor belt in Santa's workshop? I always thought that it was for Santa to discipline bad elves. But then if he disciplines elves using that, wouldn't he be on the naughty list? And if he's on the naughty list, then wouldn't he not be fit to deliver presents since he's bad? I said that I had very subjective reasons, and I wasn't lying, guys. This level always made me wonder about the spikes, because I would always get damaged by them. For some reason, I never questioned the electricity rays though. At number 9, we have Space Paranoids. The light cycle minigame was the coolest thing to me. Still living under a rock, I had never seen, or at least remember seeing, the Tron movies. I swear to you guys, I looked at movies and shows. It's just I never looked at any from the Kingdom Hearts games. The entire datascape idea was new to me, and having a bike that can turn at 90 degrees was a new concept. I was also a big fan of the Fairly OddParents at this time, and this part of the game reminded me of when Timmy went into the internet. I always had a hope that Timmy Turner would jump out in a secret area in this world, even though I knew that it was a Nick cartoon and not Disney. I really just like the look of this level, as this is what I imagined the computer world would look like. The fight against the MCP to me is also funny. Despite being the Kingdom Hearts pro that you all know that I am, I always switch to anti-form because somehow I take a lot of damage. The thing about anti-form is that you can't damage the MCP boss. You need to use a reaction command for it. Also in this fight, Tron would say, "Running executable," and MCP would say, "Oh, oh, oh." I used to have the biggest smile on my face.
Tron, back in the game. Running executable.
This is like the nerdiest thing that I can think of. I'm honestly surprised that this hasn't become a meme by now. And Land of Dragons places at number 8 for the most subjective and stupidest reason. Back when I was in primary school, and my friends and I were stupid, whenever we had a geography or history question, like why did the US want independence from England, we would always have to answer the question with "for China" in the same pitch and tone like Mulan. What's the main export of the Middle East? For China. What's the capital of China? For China. Doesn't have to make sense, but we would laugh every time. We were making memes of games before memes existed. I seriously remember my friend getting a question, basically asking what country has the biggest population in the world, and him yelling out, like Mulan, "for China," and me and our other friend dying of laughter. We were really nerds. Needless to say, we were all given conduct marks and had to explain the joke to our teacher that I still don't think understood what we meant. I still activate this limit now just to hear "for China." I like that Mushi returns from Kingdom Hearts 1, so we all have a cool reference. And the dragon boss fight in the second trip was one of the day-yum moments for me in the game, but the "for China" is the best. At number 7, I'm going to lump Disney Castle and Timeless River together since they're both so small. Disney Castle is a level that I like as we get to play in spots that cutscenes took place in KH1. This is the coolest thing about the world to me. When Mickey writes the letter at the end of KH2, it's here. I just love being in places where important cutscenes happen. I said that I don't like mini babysitting in my worst bits video, but what I do like is that we have a gameplay segment with Minnie. I would have loved to have a segment with Daisy and maybe Clarabelle, but beggars can't be choosers. Maybe in KH4, or maybe not. Timeless River gets massive points just because it's visually different from the rest of the game. I wish that if we beat the game 100%, we would be allowed to have the entire game in black and white, as this is a cool effect. This is another reason that I like this level, and I know that everyone and their mother has thoughts on the time travel we do in this level and how it relates to Xehanort's time travel. However, what I'm interested in is the fight with Old Timey Pete against Future Pete. This is one of my favorite boss fights in the series. Not because I think that it's super special or anything, but rather that if Sora loses against Future Pete might kill Old Timey Pete, and this might be a grandfather paradox in the making. Like if Future Pete wins and kills Old Timey Pete, wouldn't he lose because Old Timey Pete didn't make babies, so Future Pete wouldn't exist? Is this a Futurama-esque timeline where Future Pete is his own grandfather? I know Back to the Future rules don't apply since both Petes have seen each other, and the world doesn't melt. Anyways, that's why I like this level, because it made me think when I was smaller. Pride Lands is one of my favorite levels because this is one of the few levels that I feel like a speedrunner. It's really just running from point A to point B, and you only stop at the start and end of the level. Once you get the dash ability, Sora runs even faster and the level transforms to Need for Speed. This is a level that I love just running through. It feels great to ignore an enemy's existence, like my dad did to me, and run past them. I think that the combat in the world is passable. We can't use the guard command, but that's okay since we're going to be running through anyway. The fight against the second visit's boss is one of my favorites in the game. This is all spectacle. I guess Nomura realized that I liked this fight and tried his best to do this for all the bosses in KH3. But seriously, I really just like the sheer insanity of a little lion cub beating the giant hulking beast. When we eventually get to the top of the giant Heartless and have to fight the mask, I used to imagine that this is what people on drugs saw, because no one can think of this. And when you do drugs, you thinking of a fight like this is easy. You'll see a lot of weirder stuff. Not that I do drugs, guys. Don't do drugs. A friend told me about these thoughts. And this point is moot since we are all playing on the remixed KH2 Final Mix version and not the base PS2 KH2, but I still remember the good old days for this level. On base KH2, grinding in this world was the best. If you go to the top of Pride Rock after taking some damage with your Experience Boost Keyblade and Experience Boost abilities and use the Magnet spell, you could level up fast. I would do this for maybe 15 minutes of every playthrough before entering the world it never was, just to be a few levels higher than needed. Too bad they fixed this. At number 5 is Olympus. Olympus is one of my favorite levels solely for the second round trip. It is mainly just fighting in the Underworld Coliseum, and since the combat in this game is one of the best in the series, I love it. Plus, we finally get to fight against Hades. What I like about this is that Sora, Donald, Goofy, Orin, and Hercules can fight Hades. Before KH3, this was the maximum amount of party members that we could have. That's Sora, Hercules, and 2 other party members that he'll switch out, making it 4 people. The Hades Paradox Cup was also one of the better things to do in the non-Final Mix KH2 game, with the Ultima Keyblade at level 99. There used to be no Cavern of Remembrance, no Mushroom 13, and no Terra boss fight after beating the game, so the Colosseum Cups and Sephiroth were all you could do. I spent a lot of time redoing the Hades Cup just to beat Leon, Cloud, Tifa, and Yuffie. I used to be a pro at that fight. This, to me, was one of the coolest fights in the series. I haven't played FF7 or FF8 in years, but I knew that we were fighting characters from those games, and always thought this was close enough. Plus, we were fighting them all at once, the same characters that helped us at Hollow Bastion before the 1000 Heartless fight. There isn't any cutscene of Sora doubting himself or saying, "Should I fight my friends?" Everyone just straight up starts attacking each other, and I always thought that this was cool. At number 4, we have Beast's Castle. The first reason that I love Beast's Castle is that Beast returns from KH1. Hollow Bastion is one of my most beloved levels from the first game. Granted, I never knew that Beast was in the first game as I never got to Hollow Bastion in KH1, but when I did return to KH1 after beating KH2, I was happy to find Beast there. The second reason is the level itself. As a kid, I used to practice the disrespect strategy, so I would literally just run through the level and not fight anyone until we were forced to fight the bosses. I really like just running past enemies to get to the good boss fights, and I still do the running away strategy to this day because I'm a rebel. The third is the boss fights themselves. Back in the PS2 days, when the base KH2 didn't have the Cavern of Remembrance with the Data Orc fights, I had a save specifically for the Zaldin boss fight, and I had already completed all the prior worlds, so all I had to do was beat Zaldin and then I could boss rush everyone in the world that never was. Moreover, fighting Zaldin was a super hard boss fight back then, but I really liked fighting him, so I kept a save for when I wanted to die a few times. This was my Dark Souls level 1 critical run, and one of the reasons that I leveled up in Pride Lands as well. This was also the fight when I discovered that Mickey could save us, and until I actually used the internet for video game research, I didn't even know that Mickey could appear in other boss battles. So this fight was always special for me. I died involuntarily a lot of times just to play as Mickey in this fight. Sometimes voluntarily, but mostly involuntary. At number 3 is Hollow Bastion. A lot of things happen in Hollow Bastion / Radiant Garden. Goofy dies, Mickey throws off his coat, Sora kills his first organization member, well, the first one that he remembers, the 1000 Heartless fight. This is where so many important story moments happen, even Maleficent helping Sora. Like, this could be the climax of the game. If KH2 released for current generation, everything including the second visits to worlds would be DLC, or not included in the base game. This is also the only level in the series where Sora and party are helped by a computer simulation, so there's a sense of safety in fighting enemies here, as a computer program just pushes enemies into the air for us to combo. And this may just be me, but I really like when there are worlds within worlds. 100 Acre Woods and Space Paranoids are both located in Hollow Bastion, and they're both full-ish worlds. I don't know why, but I like stacking worlds. In the base KH2 game, there was no Cavern of Remembrance, Mushroom 13, or Terra fights. So post-game, you could only do the Sephiroth fight and Colosseum, and this is definitely meant to be a brag, but I was a pro at the Sephiroth fight. I never beat him at level 1 since that wasn't an option, but I could beat him with the Kingdom Key without taking damage. I had a save on my PS2 solely to fight Sephiroth. This is one of my favorite fights in the series, as everything about this fight was so fluid to me. With the final mix release, this world just got better as we get the Data Orc fights with more health, and we can fight them all, even the bosses from Chain of Memories. At number 2, we have Twilight Town. It has this calm, unique atmosphere compared to other worlds, and it's the world that I associate with Roxas, which is one of my favorite characters. I feel like I should address a common complaint with Twilight Town, as I know that this is a negative to most people. I mentioned this in my worst bits video, and I'm going to paraphrase what I said there. To me, the prologue in KH2 to me was not a problem to me. I enjoy and I like playing as Roxas. I never finished KH1 before I started and completed KH2. This was the first Kingdom Hearts game that I beat, so I never had a problem with Roxas being the protagonist. The only reason I knew this was a Kingdom Hearts game was from Roxas's dreams and the literal start screen. I really like the laid-back feeling of Twilight Town and just doing random events that Roxas and friends would get into. I was really into the story. I feel like I am one of the few people that wanted to see if Roxas would actually get to the beach without Hayner, Pence, and Alette. Like when he said, "Looks like my summer vacation is over," and we got the Kingdom Hearts 2 logo, I was mad. Why is Roxas gone? Bring him back. What about Hayner and the gang? I was trying to beat Kingdom Hearts 2 to play as Roxas again, rather than beat Organization 13. And besides that, I knew that with each Final Fantasy game from Squaresoft, there was a different main character, so I had no problem with the new main character of Roxas, as I thought that Kingdom Hearts was following the route of Final Fantasy. All of that is to say that I like playing as Roxas and I have no problem with the prologue. I think that the reason we all like Roxas is because we were forced to play with him at the start of KH2. Even now when I play through the game, it's slow, but I enjoy it. I know it's longer than the KH1 tutorial, but I still prefer the KH2 Twilight Town tutorial, as I just think it's more fun. I know the nostalgia goggles are on so tight that it has completely cloaked my eyes on how boring this level is, but I like the level anyway. Besides the prologue and all the story's significance that this world has, this is also the world that lets us fight alongside Mickey Mouse. I do not have an issue with this, as it feels epic to see Mickey fight alongside Sora instead of rescuing us. And at the number 1 spot, we have the world that never was. I think that this is the best final world in all of gaming. Literally, after we get the fight with Mickey and all the feels of returning to Twilight Town, we go through the portal that Axel made at the start of the game, fight alongside Axel, see Roxas in an awesome fight scene, and have a bunch of awesome boss fights, before reaching the final door for even more boss fights. I'm sort of linking in my head Twilight Town to the start of this level, which is why Twilight Town is so high on this list, despite having no real gameplay highlights other than the Axel fight. I mentioned this before when I talked about Beast's Castle, as I had a save specifically for the Zaldin fight. Well, I also had a few more saves. One was for when we enter the Betwixt and Between portal to travel from Twilight Town to the world that never was, just because I liked fighting with Axel. The gauntlet of bosses on the way to the top of the castle in this level has always been one of the coolest things to replay, and compared to KH3, where it combined the final story boss fights, KH2 gave the bosses one-on-one attention. This world is a masterclass in level design. We start in the city filled with Heartless, where Roxas and Riku fought in the secret ending of KH1. And then we get into the White Castle, where it's all the dangerous nobodies with bosses. This very area is where we fight Xemnas and run up the building, and I think that this is the only reaction command in the game where we shouldn't hit the reaction command because we can. There are 3 reaction commands to hit instead of 1, like the entirety of the game. This level ranks at number 1 for the gauntlet of awesome boss fights and really all the important story moments that occur in it. This is the climax of the series, both in terms of gameplay and story, that I don't think even KH3 or any KH games ever came close to. Kingdom Hearts 2 has one of the best endings. When KH2 ended, I wasn't on the internet googling what Mickey wrote or if Sora would be in the Keyblade War. I thought the game ended and closed all plot points. When KH3 ended, I was googling stuff about Lushu and trying to understand the Unchained plot. When KH1 ended, I was googling what happened to Kairi. KH2 just has the perfect ending, all because of this level. And those are my thoughts for all of the Kingdom Hearts 2 worlds ranked. Again, KH2 has been one of my favorite games since childhood, and I have probably beat this game over 100 times if you count the non-Final Mix version. Do you guys agree or disagree with my ranking? I'm not expecting a lot of people to disagree with the world that never was being number 1, as that world has a picture in the dictionary next to the word awesome. As for where the community stands for ranking the rest of the worlds, I'm not too sure, so please leave a comment below with your ranks, as I like to hear what you guys have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you for watching. Thank you for watching.
Right! Give me strength! You play the game quite well.